All right, Ravens flock. Whew, not going to lie. That was a tough loss. Arguably one of the toughest losses we have suffered this season. The Ravens fall to 8-8 on the season. They lose against the LA Rams. And with them now being 8-8 on the season, they fall to the 11th seed in the AFC. And the chances they make the playoffs have now dramatically dropped to a low percentage. It's around 8% last time I checked. So chances of them making the playoffs are very low. Basically, the season's most likely over for the Ravens. Even if they do beat the Steelers, they're not guaranteed anything. They need a lot of help to get into the playoffs. And honestly, it really comes down to luck in that situation. And I don't think luck's going to be on the Ravens side, especially after the season they've had. So, season is probably over after this. And it's unfortunate, it's unfortunate. You come into the season with high hopes, high expectations. You expected this team to be able to compete for a title, and it just gets decimated by injuries left and right. Nothing else you can really do with that, Everybody got injured. Your franchise quarterback got injured. This really felt like 2015 because, everybody was getting injured, started getting injured during training camp. You lose Terrell Suggs in week 1 against Denver, and then people just kept getting injured. And next thing you know, you lose Steve Smith Sr., you lose Justin Forsett. You end up losing Flacco against the Rams, ironically. He suffers that torn ACL and MCL, and at that point, the season's pretty much over. It kind of felt like that type of situation we were dealing with. And it's been unfortunate, You lost a lot of guys, and it is what it is, For me personally, once I saw Lamar go out in week 14 with that injury, I said the season is most likely done. I had the motto of fight to the end, Ravens. See what you can do. See if you can try to hold down the fort with Lamar being gone and see if you can make the playoffs. Because if you can make it into the postseason, maybe Lamar comes back and we might have a shot to go on a run. Who knows? Anything can happen when you get into the postseason. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. I didn't have a lot of high hopes for that. But, as a fan, I still got some hope. But, it didn't happen, unfortunately. And with one game to go, whether or not they win this game, it's not necessarily going to have that much of an effect unless they get a lot of help. So it is what it is. At this point, I think they're most likely going to pack up Lamar Jackson. I don't see him playing week 18. There'll be no point to play him for the final game. You might as well just pack it up. The sad part about this is, Tyler Huntley and Josh Johnson, when they've played, they've looked really good, and they've done a good job holding down the fort while Lamar's been injured. But, when you just look at the situation face value, this team has not won a football game since Lamar Jackson was the starter. That speaks a lot of volumes. You have not won a football game since Lamar Jackson was the starter. So that just goes to show you how much value this guy has to the franchise. It also goes to show you how much this guy was covering up and how his play was just carrying this team. No wonder he was in the MVP conversation. If you look at the way this team is right now, the fact that they were 6-2 under Lamar, hell, the fact that they were 8-3 and the number 1 seed in the AFC heading into week 13. With this roster, man, it speaks to how great Lamar Jackson is. And I feel like a lot of Ravens fans forget that. I don't speak on this that much, but the Ravens fans have always been divided, when it comes to Lamar Jackson. A bunch of them never really wanted him to be our quarterback. So whenever he gets injured or whenever he makes a mistake, well, now he's suffering an injury for the first time in his career. But whenever he makes a mistake or looks bad, they point to those moments and say, see, he's a bad quarterback. We shouldn't have him. And, it's always been like that. This is probably why a lot of people look at Ravens fans and say we're disgusting and we're just inconsistent and we don't know what we want. We're selfish. We're spoiled. They say all these things about us, and I can't really deny it. I see it in this fan base. Every fan base has fans like that, but I see it in my own fan base, so I will never lie and deny that we have fans like that. It's unfortunate that this is the fan base I got to deal with that with, but, it is what it is. But, yeah, Lamar was really carrying this team, and you could tell. But Huntley and Josh Johnson, they did a good job. They're not the reason we really lost the games. Well, at least for most of them. But it is what it is. But speaking of that, let's get into this game. Okay, so let's start with the defense. How did the defense perform in this game? I'm going to be honest. The defense did as best as they could possibly do. Maybe they could have done a little bit better. But honestly, I think they did a great job. This was a great bounce back from the embarrassing performance they had against the Cincinnati Bengals. They bounced back huge here. They did something they haven't done in a long time. They forced turnovers. 3 turnovers forced in this game. They forced Matthew Stafford to throw 2 picks, and they strip fumbled this guy. Chuck Clark had arguably his best game of his career. 2 picks on the day, one of them being a pick 6. Chuck Clark was in his bag today. He was balling out. Defense was playing well for most of it, and we were controlling the game for the most part. Unfortunately, the defense ends up giving up a game-winning drive And it sucked, but they gave up that game-winning drive. I'm not that mad about that. At the end of the day, they played a great game. You already know that secondary is completely decimated. Yeah, there were a couple plays where they, left dudes wide open, and Cooper Kupp at some point just started taking over. You got Cooper Kupp and Odell that just started taking over in the second half late in that game, and, it is what it is. They had a chance to make a stop and win the game on 4th and 5. Odell made a clutch catch, and then he would proceed to get the touchdown. So good on Odell for making the plays, and good on Cooper Kupp for also making the plays he did. These guys are some great players, and, they went out there and made plays when the Rams really needed them to, so congrats to them. I think this also wins the NFC West for the Rams, so if that's the case, congratulations to the LA Rams for winning the division. I might have to talk about that too, because I picked the Rams to win the division. I stuck with that to start off with, and I said they were going to win that division over the Cardinals, over the Seahawks, and over the Niners, and people thought I was crazy, especially Niner fans thought I was crazy. Oh, boy, they thought I was crazy. But you know what? At the end of the day, if they got it, that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. But if they got it, congrats to them. I don't know if they have. But, if they had, that's cool. Congrats to them. But, back to this. Defense did as well as I could possibly, hope for them to do, considering how decimated they are. I think Wink Martindale did a really good job with the play calling. And, honestly, the coverages they threw out there did a good job to make it difficult for Matthew Stafford. He made some great throws under pressure, too. They really got to Stafford. This was one of the better games of this defense, and, it was unfortunate that we couldn't capitalize on the 3 turnovers as much as we should have, but it is what it is. So, yeah, I think overall the defense played great. I think, defense played really good. I think the play calling was really good from Wink Martindale. I don't really have any complaints from this defense because they played as best as they could given the situation and given the whole circumstance of that defense. Let's switch over to the offense. Let's start out with Huntley. This was easily the worst game Huntley has played so far this season. Obviously, so far in his young career. He was not good in this game. Made a lot of mistakes. He made a terrible mistake that caused an interception. There was some miscommunication between him and Hollywood Brown. He thought Hollywood was going to cut back. Hollywood just kept going, and he ended up throwing a pick. That one really changed the momentum because the Ravens could have gone into the locker room up 10, but instead they go into the locker room up 6, and it's a 4-point swing that ultimately looks like it cost us there. But, yeah, he made a terrible decision right there, caused the pick. He had a lot of bad decisions here with a lot of bad throws and was just missing guys. And, Huntley just did not look well. He did not play well. He didn't look good out there. His pocket awareness was terrible. I mean, it was easily the worst game he's had so far. But it's fine. He's a young quarterback. He's still learning. Obviously, not every week he's gonna be able to ball out. He's a young quarterback. Defenses adjust. They get more film on you, and they're gonna make those plays. And the Rams defense was able to adjust and make it harder on Huntley, and they definitely came after him. So it was a rough game, but he's a young quarterback. He'll learn. And I guess with this, I didn't really talk about this because I don't really care about that stuff. But I guess this quote unquote silenced the crowd for the people that was saying Huntley should replace Lamar Jackson. That whole thing was stupid, especially when Ravens fans were saying it. This is exactly why players think fans have the mindset of 3-year-olds. Like, your attention span is so small and is so quick that the shiny new toy is just good enough to just throw away anything else you saw. Huntley had one great game against the Green Bay Packers, and that was enough for everybody to sit back and say he should be replaced by Lamar Jackson. He should replace Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson should be traded. The Ravens shouldn't pay him. Let Huntley be the franchise quarterback. People were saying that. Even Ravens fans were saying that, which, again, just goes to show how divided this fan base is. But even Ravens fans were saying that. Now he has this terrible performance, arguably his worst performance he's ever really had so far in his young career. And all of a sudden people are like, man, he was never better than Lamar. No one should have ever said that. Anybody who was saying that was a lie. And for the people that were saying that, man, I was just saying in the moment, you know how it is. I never really truly believed he was better. I was just meaning to say that he was playing better than Lamar, so we should stick with him. Bunch of liars. But, yeah, it is what it is on that. But Huntley, he'll be fine. He's a young quarterback. He'll continue to learn. The offense as a whole, honestly, they played solid. The running game was really going. I'm not going to lie. The running game was really going. It was flowing. Devontae Freeman has done a fantastic job during the second half of this run. I'm telling you, with the way he's played, I think he's going to be on the roster next year. He could be our third back. You can have J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, and Devontae Freeman as your 3 backs. Devontae has done a fantastic job. He's played great. He broke free for a huge run in this game. The guys looked great. The guys looked great, so I think he may end up being on this roster next season, but we'll see about that. So, the Ravens controlled the game for much of it. They were leading this game for most of it and had complete control, but at the end, they cracked. They cracked. The offense cracked. And it came down to several factors. Let's switch over to our main man, Greg Roman. I've been one to speak of Greg Roman being fired. I still believe that should be the case. But Greg Roman today, I don't really think I have a problem with his play calling. I think Greg Roman actually did a pretty good job with the play calling. We had a lot of long drives that would take like 8-9 minutes. We had a couple of those drives where we were playing well. We were getting down the field, getting into the red zone, and killing the clock. The only difference is we were not getting into the end zone. No touchdown scored. No offensive touchdowns. The first time that has happened since week 5 of 2018. That was against the Cleveland Browns. I remember that game. Flacco, threw it to Michael Crabtree, and he just could not make the catch in the end zone, and we ended up losing the game. But, it's been a long time since our offense failed to get even one touchdown. So, we were going on long drives, and the play calling was great. But once we got to the red zone, the play calling just went away, and it was just poor. And some of the play calling by Greg Roman there was terrible. Then you look at the play calling on the final drive where we were trying to get into field goal range for Tucker to try and win this game. And the play calling there was also poor. It was terrible. There was some inconsistencies from Greg Roman. Overall, I think Roman called a really good game. I think his play calling was solid. I didn't really have a problem with it. It just really came down to how the play calling was in the red zone, especially when we had a chance to seal this game with a touchdown. We had the 5-yard line. Play calling just was not good there. And then the final drive, the play calling wasn't good there. But overall, it is what it is. And you guys already know where I stand on Mike D'Antoni. I said it again. You guys know where I stand with Greg Roman. Speaking of Mike D'Antoni, that is the person that Greg Roman has reminded me of. I've been thinking about this, and he's been on my mind, like Mike D'Antoni, recently. Because, I've been thinking of who Greg Roman reminds me of. It's Mike D'Antoni. It's a great coach that can put up a historical offense. They're going to put up a lot of great numbers, break a lot of records. They're going to be a great team that's going to be in contention. The offense is going to look fantastic. Then when it comes to having to show up with the game on the line, being clutch, situational type coaching, all of a sudden, it gets poor. It gets very poor. I saw this with Mike D'Antoni when he did it with the Phoenix Suns with Steve Nash. I saw this happen with the Houston Rockets with James Harden and CP3. This is just what Mike D'Antoni does. His play calling, his coaching as a whole in those situations were very poor. And what made it worse is Mike D'Antoni was the type of person to stick to his guns. He didn't want to change anything. Live by the 3, die by the 3. That's how they ended up losing the conference finals. That's exactly what Greg Roman does. Greg Roman does not like to make adjustments late in the game. He will die by his sword, and the play calling will stick to what he knows best, and he's not going to try to adjust, and he's not going to try to change it, especially when it comes to the game being on the line. Now, that's not to say that he doesn't make adjustments. He definitely does make adjustments, but go back and look. With the game on the line, go look at how the play calling is. Even with Lamar, go look at how the play calling is. It's more so, any positive plays we got, it's more so because Lamar made a great play as opposed to it being a great play call. That's just how it is, So, Greg Roman reminds me of, he reminds me of Mike D'Antoni because, both of them are great coaches. They've got historical offenses, great offenses that can contend for a title, but they're never going to get to that title. And I just feel like with Greg Roman here, we're never going to win a Super Bowl. We'll compete. The offense will put up high numbers. Obviously, you see where the offense is ranked as one of the highest in the league. So, what he's going to bring to the table. Going to bring up some historical numbers. The offense is going to be within the top 10. They're going to be looking great. But then, all of a sudden, we get to situational football in key situations with the game on the line where you need to be able to make adjustments if some of the things aren't working, and you see how poor Greg Roman is at doing that, and you see he tries to stick to his guns, and he doesn't really like to change up the play calling. So those are some of the reasons I don't want him to be here next year, but it's not like he's a bad offensive coordinator. He's a good coach. He's good. He's really good. I just don't feel like you're going to be able to win with this guy calling the plays for our offense. I just don't see it. And if the Ravens, believe that's the case, then, hey, I guess for the next couple years, we're not going to be winning a championship. Unless they prove me wrong, but I just don't think you're going to win with Greg Roman as your offensive coordinator. But that's just me. That's just me. We'll see. I believe the Ravens are going to run it back next year with the same coaching staff. Speaking of this coaching staff, again, I'm not mad at the situation. I understand injuries left and right. And for me personally, I said it at the end of the day, if they fight to the end, I will live with the results. But a lot of Ravens fans are frustrated by how we're losing. Four of these 5 losses, 4 of them were single game losses, and 3 of them were losses by 1 point. 1 point. And those 1 point losses came because of 3 things: decision making, poor time management, and just poor execution. And all 3 of those can land on coaching, even poor execution. Now, if it's poor execution for one game, that's fine. But for multiple, that's a coaching thing. That is definitely a coaching thing. If your guys are consistently failing to execute on plays that you guys have practiced for, that's a coaching thing. How can they continue to be so undisciplined? Did you see how this offense looked? Coming out, 57 seconds left on the clock in a timeout. If Lamar Jackson is under center, he will get you to field goal range, and Tucker's kicking that with a win. Lamar's getting you into field goal range. It's not even a debate. We've seen them done it several times. 57 seconds left in the timeout? Oh, he's getting you into range. But with the way they operated on that final drive today against the Rams, my God. 57 seconds left in the timeout. The play calling was all a bunch of short throws over the middle, killing the clock. Nobody was getting set in time. They were taking time. A delay of game was called. I mean, terrible. Terrible. You're looking at the coaching and you're wondering what is happening. You're looking at the play calling. You're wondering why the play calling is this bad. You're looking at the time management. And you're wondering what is going on. This falls on the coaching staff, and this definitely falls on John Harbaugh. I don't know how your team goes out there and, executes that poorly on a 2-minute drive. You've been on this stage before. You've done this several times. For them to be this poor, especially over the last several weeks, and this has been a consistent thing, I don't know what to tell you, man. I think Eric DeCosta is going to have to, truly reevaluate this entire coaching staff in the offseason. I doubt he's going to fire anyone. In fact, I expect this exact same coaching staff back. If Greg Roman's gone, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to celebrate. But, I think DeCosta's just going to chalk it up to injuries taking away the season, and he's going to run it back with the same coaching staff. So there's going to be some frustrations. And I understand people will be like, well, he's coached this team to close wins. You should be happy about that. And, yeah, no one's saying that John Harbaugh's not a good coach, but if you're in these games and you have an opportunity to win and you lose due to your coach's decision, bro, that's not a good look. Because at the end of the day, it's not because of the lack of players there or the lack of, star power or anything. It's because your coach made a decision that was very questionable. Questionable decisions, lack of time management, just, oh my goodness. Poor clock management. I just don't even know what to tell you, man. Coaching has to be looked upon. Harbaugh's got to be looked at. Roman's got to be looked at. Guys have got to be looked at. I doubt anyone's going anywhere. I'm not saying fire anyone at this point. I think this same coaching staff's going to run it back. I don't think DeCosta is going to make a change, but I really hope he takes a good look at this coaching staff in the offseason and comes to a decision as to whether or not this coaching staff is good enough to help this team get to a Super Bowl. Because, my God, I don't know what to say. Other than that, congrats to Mark Andrews' single-season receiving record in franchise history. Passing Jackson on that. That was awesome. He's been a beast this year. He should be first-team All-Pro, no question. And other than that, the Ravens are pretty much done. I'm just looking forward to seeing Lamar play in the Pro Bowl at this point. Having him play, behind a great offensive line will be great to see again. I'm just waiting to see him play in the Pro Bowl, man. I'm already just done with all of this. But it is what it is. It's unfortunate that the Ravens do lose this game, but, what are you going to do? I think you got to look at coaching, man. You got to look at coaching. 4 of these last 5 losses have literally been because of one-score games and certain decisions that have been made by John Harbaugh, as well as questionable play calling from Greg Roman. That has to be looked upon, I get that you don't have your normal players and this team is injured to hell, but if you're in a game and you're competitive, I don't care. This is the National Football League. next man up. If they were getting blown out, it's fine. Like the Cincinnati game, they got blown out, it's fine. They just didn't have the manpower. But if you're in this game and you have a chance to win and you end up losing because of a questionable decision by your coach, that's on the coach. That's not on the players. And if it's happening consistently, that's on the coach. Even if it's about an execution issue, yeah, they didn't execute that play. If it's consistently happening, that's a coaching issue. Don't you think the coach should have addressed that so they're better prepared for that situation? For it to consistently happen, that's a coaching issue right there. So, yeah, coaching is very questionable. During this loss, coaching is very questionable. Not to mention, this loss, these 5 straight losses have really shown how much Lamar Jackson has just covered up for the glaring mistakes and the glaring issues that this team has, man. My God, Lamar Jackson has been covering up for everything, man. Look at this. It's the Russell Wilson effect. You know, just how like Russ was covering up for a lot of issues Seattle was dealing with. That's why they kept getting to the playoffs just to get to the divisional round and lose. You know, they were covering up a lot of stuff, man. A lot of stuff was being covered up by Russell Wilson, just like a lot of stuff's being covered up right now by Lamar Jackson when he was playing. So, you know, I don't know what to tell you. That just falls on the coach at some point, you know. I guess, you know, when you're Pete Carroll and when you're John Harbaugh, when you win a Super Bowl, all of a sudden you feel, hey, my style is the right way. I don't really got to change much. But, hey, I don't know if that's going to work for you in the long run. I don't know if Russell Wilson is going to be in Seattle much longer, and I don't exactly know how this whole situation with Lamar and the Ravens are going to work out. I still think they're going to sign him. He's going to get paid. No question, he's going to get paid, and he's going to be here for years to come. But, man, when you look at how these decisions have cost the Ravens games, and it's been a decision Harbaugh has made, and you see the lack of time management, clock management, poor clock management just in general. You see all these things that are coaching issues, and you look back at Harbaugh and you're wondering why are you so poor at these certain things? You're the head coach. You should be better in these situations, but he's not. It's not gonna be good. Still ahead. He's like legit. I'm saying this right now, despite all the issues I've said and all the things I pointed out, he's still a top 10 coach, one of the best coaches in the game. But man, some of these issues, man, those are glaring. You know, if you're in the playoffs and you're having moments like that where you're going to make these decisions, that's scary to have a coach that is consistently failing in late game situations. He's consistently failing in these type of situations and coming up with questionable decisions. It's scary, man. It's scary. It's scary how poor this team is at situational football. That's not a good look. But you know, it is what it is. You know, team lost. We're 8-8. We'll see how the season ends off. And honestly, at this point, I'm kind of ready for the offseason. I got other things to do. Obviously, I'll be covering the playoffs. That's not going anywhere. But I got other things I want to do, so I'm kind of just waiting for this final game from the Ravens. If they make the playoffs by some miracle, I'll get to see them for an extra week. Other than that, once this final game against the Steelers happens, season pretty much ends there, and I can move on and do something else. But with that being said, that is all I got for you. It's unfortunate we lost, but it is what it is. That's all I got to say, and I'm out of here, man. Peace.